Well, hey there, this is Jared. I'm getting started on that episode of What's Broke Today, and today, my mower lift. This is a Mojack, Mojack EZ, that, when I crank the handle, no longer lifts. And what happens is there's a bronze bushing down here in the lower mechanism, so when you crank the handle, it lifts it up. And then it's got safety catches here on the side. Um, I've replaced that once. And of course, a week ago, it stripped. I had a mower up about 6 inches before it stripped out. And every time I order one of those, it's going to be, by the time I pay shipping, around $40. If I order two of them, it'd be 70. Um, they last about a year, but I work on so many mowers, lift up so many, because this makes it so easy to clean the deck, take the blades off to sharpen. Say I got to change a deck belt, raise it up, drop the deck all the way down, and I can sit at the side and change the belt real easy. You know, do other repairs on a mower deck. So I decided, instead of ordering another one of those bronze pieces, I'm going to modify it. So I got me a big eye bolt to go down through where the bronze, I'm going to actually run it through the bronze bushing, and I got a nylock nut to go on the bottom. I ordered off of eBay a Vevor boat winch. Then I went and bought me a piece of 3-inch wide by 1/4-inch thick steel. And what I'm going to end up doing is taking this winch and mounting it up here. I'm going to, this tab that this screw goes down through, I'm going to cut it off, and I'm also going to cut off back here where this, I don't know, pull handle goes. And I'm going to mount the winch up here. I'm going to weld up, because this is 3 inches wide, I'm going to cut off a piece 10 inches long to go down, so it'll hang down onto this frame about 5 inches. And I think I'll even weld a couple gussets on the back to keep it from wanting to do this. But then I can mount my winch and then take our I forgot to stop in the middle, but okay. I'm going to have the winch mounted, run that down, and hook the hook into that eye bolt. And then I'll still be able to crank it and lift it up. But I guess we'll start out. First thing I do is I'll probably, this mechanism for the wheels, just got to pull a pin, and it comes off there. And then I'm going to get this threaded rod out of there. And then we'll go outside and we'll cut pieces off of here. But for now, I'm not going to need this, so we'll set it to the side. Alright, so let me get a few things ready so we can go out and start getting the dismantling of this done, and cut our steel, and get our cutting done on here and get our modifications started. Okay, now first thing is we'll pull this hairpin clip and pull this pin, and then this it's probably a two-handed job, comes up off there like so. But to start out, I'm just going to lay it on its back, and I'll turn that and crank it up a little bit, because with no weight on it, it will move. And I'm going to take a punch, and I'll say I got a cat here wanting to help. Let's do this. I'll use my chair to hold that up so I can take that and drive it part way through. And then I'll lay this up on its side and take a pin punch and drive that the rest of the way through. We got our roll pin out of there. There's a flat washer on the bottom. And there's our roll pin. Then we just crank this and push that down all the way. And then we can pull this out of here. And there's a kind of a bronze bearing up here at the top. And then, of course, the screw part. And then once we get that off, then this will slide up and down. Only thing I didn't take into account when I was thinking about this is those rollers. I might not have bought a long enough eye bolt, but yeah, I should have bought a longer. Well, let's just set this down here and see. I push that through. Yeah, I may even need to drill that. Oh, it's going. Yeah, I never thought a little longer eye bolt might have been better, because this nut doesn't quite fit in between those rollers. You know what I might be able to do is take a regular nut, because I can take this apart and turn it, so I can maybe take a nut and grind down the flats a little so it'll fit in between those rollers, and then just screw this in where I need it, and then put this assembly back together. So we'll worry about that when we get to that point, but for now that can sit down there out of the way. And we need to go outside and cut this ear off. We need to go outside and cut this ear off where the screw was at, cut the ear off on the back side for the handle, and then after I get it welded up, I can take this bracket, clean it up a little, and weld it back onto the back behind the winch, and have her ready to go. So let me go grab the tools to do some cutting. Okay, well, I was getting ready to use my portable bandsaw to cut this when I was looking at this handle's in the way, so I'm just going to use take this handle off. And I'm just going to kind of look and sight that post and my bandsaw blade and try and cut it off as close to this post as I can. I'll see if I can knock that down and break it off with my hammer, and then come up front here and do the same thing. Okay, cut that one down. Let's see if I can break off the weld. That's warm. That one's going to break off easier. That wasn't, oh, they didn't weld across all of that one. So, take this and cut a little more. That bent down, I'm going to kind of change my angle and cut kind of back toward the rear of the frame. Okay, I got that cut off, but that was welded across the back. Oh, that is warm. And I have to get my angle grinder and smooth that up a little. And I got to grind off the paint on these corners and then smooth the front up just a little bit. I might even weld across there and seal that off. We'll wait and see, but it's raining. I better move inside. Okay, so I bought a piece of steel. It's 3 inches wide and, well, it's over 3 feet long. And I want a piece 10 inches long, so I'm just going to lay this up here, measure off 10 inches, put the square up there and make a mark with my pencil. I was going to go outside and do this with the angle grinder with a cutoff wheel, but it's raining. So I've got, this would cut quicker if I cut down through, but I have a hell of a time cutting down like that and making a straight line. So this takes a little longer, but at least I can cut a straight line. Okay, and there we go, cut off. And that really, cutting that angle doesn't really take that much longer. It just feels like it does. And of course, we can take that out of there and set the excess to the side because I'm going to use that on, I got another project I'm going to need that for. And then I'm going to, we'll just put it in there like that. I'll put this in there. All right. Okay. I'm just going to set that up there and kind of center it up as best I can. I'll take that and lay it over there. And very carefully, trying to hold that straight. Go down here and mark my circle. And then okay, I want to, now for this top hole, this edge of my paint line is at my 1.5 inches. And that one, my 1.5 inches. Well, actually, that's 3 1/8. So, center line's there. So, yeah, so I'm going to be right in the middle of okay. Because this come out of when I went up to the metal place, this was leftovers from somebody else's project. So, get that mounted in there. Now, the bottom hole is round. The other hole, I got a slot. So that hole doesn't have to be perfect. It's got to be, probably 3/4 of an inch from the end of that. So I'm going to go get my drill and let's drill some holes. Okay, now I know where I made that circle is definitely where I want the round hole. And that keeps this just below that top edge. So I'm going to go right kind of where I got that marked. And okay, there's that. And then we hold this up here and make sure. Yeah, so where I got my line at will be sufficient. Okay. And like when I start with these holes, like I know the 1/8 inch drill bit I need quite frequently. So I went one below. Used to go one above, but I broke that one. And then like next step, I'm going to go above quarter. I'm going to use the 19, well, actually the 9/32 is kind of, see what I can get pulled up out of there. Okay, I use the 9/32. Of course, I have cobalt drill bits made by Milwaukee. Um, and I have those because they last and they work so well. You know, if you don't drill, or you know, if you're not needing to drill a bunch of holes throughout the day or year, you don't need the better bits. But if you, as much as I do, these pay for themselves and the time they save me. You can see how efficiently, and if I put a little lube on it, this even go faster. Okay. And then the next size is going to be 3/8. Grab our 3/8. Okay. And there is my 2 holes I needed drilled. Don't know how much I'm going to edit out, but you can see that actually went really well. I'm going to take a flat wheel, clean up this where I cut it, clean up around the holes, and I need to get, well, down where I'm going to weld. This is hot rolled steel. I need to get the slag off of here. So I'm going to get my angle grinder with a flat wheel, and might have to get my grinding wheel too, and I'm going to clean some of this up, and we'll start getting ready to weld. Okay, so I got the slag cleaned off of there, paint cleaned off the sides, the back, part a little bit here, and that there, and yeah, I may do a little bit more there just because I need to get rid of that sticker, but I know I'm going to put the winch facing like that. So I'm going to take my first bolt, stick it through the slot, and go over there, put the nut on, come around to the front, and the second one in there, and start the nut. And there's a little bit of play in that, so got a little bit of adjustment. But tighten one up. Tighten the other one up. And that's going to set up there. I'll take that and then turn this around so I can, yep. Trying to get that as straight vertical as I can. And because then this come around, there's a little slot here where I can put that down through and it'll come right along the front of that. And that piece that I'm going to run it on kind of works like a roller. So that should work good. The only thing I didn't do is I didn't clean enough paint. I didn't go low enough cleaning paint. So let me take this back off. Work better now that I got my angle grinder out of the way, but like that, and then put that there. And before I actually start welding, I'm going to measure this. Before I start welding, I'm actually going to measure this distance on both sides just to make sure it's even. And then we can tack weld it a couple places, take the winch off, take the C-clamp off, and then finish welding it all the way around. That is super close. So, yeah, let me get, I'm actually going to see if I can get the winch off there. Then I can clamp my ground probe to my new piece of steel, and then we can do some tack welding. Let's start out up here. One in the front's the challenging one because of everything being in the way. Take that off and peel that back. Okay, so I'm going to start out with a tack up here, one down here, and one on the other side before I pull the C-clamp. And when I'm tacking in a corner like that, make sure I don't got no slag on the tip, and just stuff it up in the corner and then just wiggle it back and forth. Works really well. And now I'm actually going to lay this down on its back and maybe even see if I can balance on some jack stands, because this is okay welding up here like this, but this will be easier if I'm welding down at an angle instead of sideways. Go ahead and weld across the top here. And to minimize the size of that weld, I basically just went as straight across as I could without doing my filleting back and forth. All right, I got it balanced on the jack stands, so we'll see how this works. Get my gloves. I'm going to start welding, and I'll probably edit out most of the welding and just show you what it looks like when it gets done. And keep body parts out of the way so you don't get those little embers down your socks. Now I'm going to weld across here. All right, and then the last but not least is a little bit here on the back side. Okay, now anybody that's ever watched my other videos and seen me welding, the quality of the weld for me all depends on sometimes the angle, because I don't weld good vertical or upside down. But when I get the motion right, see there at the top, that looks beautiful. It kind of goes to hell as you go down. That doesn't look too bad. We can turn this around and see in there, that doesn't look too bad. And this down here, where I was able to do it basically looking straight down, turned out great. So next thing I need to work on, well, I need to see if I got some black paint to paint that. I need to work on getting my bolt mounted. I'm going to go take a 1/2-inch nut, go out to my belt sander and see if I can shave a little bit off of 2 of the flats so it'll fit in between these 2 rollers. And I'll be back. Okay, so taking my nylock nut, I'm going to take it away, but then I took 2 1/2-inch nuts and cut them down so they'll fit in between there. And we're going to start out with, I'm going to take this bolt loose in the back. That off, take that roller off there, and then this will come off of there. And this is where you normally pull out this bronze bushing and change it. But we're not going to be doing that no more. I'm going to go ahead and put it back up in its slot. Make sure my rollers are there. Put that down through there. I'm going to take the first nut and get it in between there and just start screwing this together. I'm going to hold that up kind of high so it's up against the bronze bushing. And then I did 2 because I'm going to put 1 down at the bottom of those rollers. And the reason it's down there is so that they can't, it kind of captures them. And we'll just screw this in there. Yeah, that should work right there. Then we'll put this back up here. Get our bolt. Put through that. Okay. And there we got that, so we can pull. Oh, I had the winch back there. I'm going to bring this strap around, put it through the slot there, pull some of that through. Put this up there like so. Put our handle on there. That looks like 3/4. So I can grab my cordless ratchet and tighten that down. I take my 2 9/16 wrenches, and then of course I'll have to take this apart to paint because I didn't have any black paint here. Crank that down there. Just lock that in there. Change our direction so that it lifts. That looks good. All right, now let's pull our pin. And then this part just hooks on that one pin there, which let's pull this roller out so that can tip down a little. Because it may work if I get this hooked on there, we may be just fine. There we go. Because I never, break it down and hang it on the wall. So for me, it's not a big deal to have it being where I can't take it apart. But that is a 6-inch eye bolt I got. And if I was going to go buying another one today, I would probably buy an 8-inch. Okay, that's tight. All right. It won't go and hit the highest position now unless I trim this bracket where a little bit off of that. But you know what? I may just drill a new hole so it don't go up all the way. Because I thought about drilling a hole here midway to where I could stop at midpoint. But I like that. So other than I'd say other than taking it apart and doing some paint, maybe cutting some of this, maybe not, because I wouldn't have to cut off. I'd have to I probably need to cut off 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches up here, because this is 10 inches long. I'm using about 5.5 behind the winch, about 4.5 hanging down on our tube. But that should work great. And with that, I actually should not have to replace my winch every year, like I was going to have to replace that bronze threaded piece. Okay, going to show you real quick. I went and welded my handle on and made sure that my crank cleared. Well, I appreciate you watching this episode of What's Broke today on getting our Mojack EZ converted from a crank handle with a threaded rod to a boat trailer winch. I think it's going to work great. Well, not to actually put a mower on it, but I mean, I think it's definitely going to work, and I'll say, yeah, I'm quite proud of it actually. Yeah, I wasn't sure it'd work because I spent a few days thinking about this before I ordered the winch and went up and bought steel. So, but hey, I do appreciate you watching. That anybody out there that's watching this and is not a subscriber, feel free to join on in because they'll tell them what else you'll see on What's Broke Today. Thank you.